of COVID-19 on underserved populations. And as you all know, St. John's has been a long-term supporter of Samaritan Ministries. I am the partner representative for St. John's with Samaritan Ministries, and I'll be the moderator today with the help of Bill Reisner. And David, take it away.
Great, thanks. Well, let me invite us into a quick word of prayer, and then we'll go from there. So let us pray. May we speak, hear, and live the truth, come whence it may, cost what it will. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Well, great thanks to all of you at St. John's, but maybe especially Alex and Bill on the technical side today, and Bill Kennedy, one of our really key essential volunteers. I just give a shout out to him, but I'm seeing a lot of names I know, including Ethan Bishop, who I didn't see a few minutes ago. So welcome, Ethan, too. But grateful to your leadership, grateful to your rector as well for your partnership, which goes way, way back in this ministry we share. If you just joined and just missed it, I'm David Wolf, the director of Samaritan Ministry, and in a minute, I'm gonna introduce you to my colleague, Antoinette Green, who is a participant graduate, a Samaritan Ministry star, we say, of the program, who will share her success story, which is pretty impressive. But my purpose first is just to remind you who we are and what we do, and ultimately how we've adapted in this pandemic period. Want to give you a little snapshot of that as well, because it's that too is impressive, if I dare say so myself. Our adjustments there to serve the participants that we serve at this time. Before I do that, though, let me ask how many of you have heard of the fishing metaphor? You know, that old metaphor that if you give a person a fish, they can survive for a day, but if you teach them how to fish, they can thrive for a lifetime. Just give me a hand. Yeah, I bet everybody has heard of it. We didn't invent that, but it speaks to who we are and what we do, because we teach our program participants how to fish through a method that we pioneered 33 years ago called Next Step, which is a combination of collaborative casework and expert coaching that is really a hand up, not a handout. We call it change work, not charity, because participants design their own plan and pursue their own goals and take their own necessary next steps to meet those goals. And just the very fact that I'm referring to, you may have figured out at this point, our clientele as participants is intentional, because we call them participants because they participate in their own change work, and the change they want to see in themselves. And I mean, the obvious reality is, if we're not invested in our own change, it's really not going to work. So, and it's change that we say is pretty substantial, that leads to a sustainable, purpose-driven life. Now, as some of you know or might imagine, most of our participants start off homeless, jobless, or some combination of those, stuck in the ditch, metaphorically, if not literally, that is part of the story of the Good Samaritan, who helps a man who was stuck in a ditch on the side of the road, as you may recall. And indeed, stuck is the technical term we use to describe the condition of our participants. As they come to us. Now, I'm saying they, but I want to suggest to you that stuckness is our condition too. That's, to be human is to know the experience of being stuck. It's part of the human condition, right? I can't see I can't see all your hands, but I want to ask, who among us has not been stuck? And I think we all know at one time or another that experience in our lives. And so what our participants receive from us is what we all need to receive from some source. And we have a name for it, and that name is rigorous compassion. And it's what we all know. It includes what we all know, which is the sort of support and encouragement that we get from our family and friends, the intimate, trustful networks that we have of family, friends, coaches, teachers, clergy, all those folks. But it's also something else that is harder for folks to comprehend sometimes, but certainly is part of the best of our relationships, which is challenge and accountability, right? It's the truth and love. It's what you'd rather not hear sometimes from your spouse or your pastor or your best friend. And if they're any kind of a best friend, right, hopefully they'll say things that you would rather not hear that are challenging but helpful to you, helping you grow. Amen. Is everybody with me on that? Somebody give me an amen. There is a thumbs up from Bill. Yeah. Thank you, Ann. Yes. So you know what I'm talking about, because both those components are important for our growth and our change. And it's maybe something we take for granted, this network of family and friends, let's call it. But one way to understand who we are and what we do at Samaritan is that we are that network of family and friends for those that either have none or whose family and friends, there's no one that's really providing that rigorous role, even if their parents are alive, they're just not able to really challenge them and support them in the way that would be ideal for their growth. And so, that's the role at bottom that we play. And I should add, especially in this pandemic period, in this time of crisis with a coronavirus, you can imagine how critical that network is. So that suggests how we have pivoted or how we have adapted. Let me say a few words about that before you hear from Antoinette. We, contrary to the way it usually works, where participants, of course, take the initiative to accomplish their goals and take their next steps, we've reached out to them aggressively, typically by the phone, but electronically as well, though there are some limitations there in doing that. Our caseworkers are on the phone with them way more frequently than they have been seeing them in person before the pandemic. And that's precisely to help them figure out what they can accomplish in terms of their goals, because there's obvious limitations with the pandemic, right? They can't pursue employment or housing or healthcare or whatever their goal is as vigorously as they might, but they can accomplish something. absent the casework support, the support of Samaritan as a network, it's easy to get discouraged and to be even, kind of emotionally paralyzed in terms of trying to make some progress. So metaphorically speaking, we've been going the extra mile to be sure that our participants, on the one hand, have the essential items, the in-kind things they need, as well as the coaching that they need, at least on the phone. And we've been open once a week at our main offices, just to give them in-kind stuff and set up phone appointments, or provide PPE, whatever it is, as we try to support them during this very difficult time and prepare them for the recovery that is inevitable, that is starting to happen, but is pretty limited still, so that they're ready and competitive, that they're not suddenly way behind, and that they're, that it really is a recovery for everyone, not just us, but those that are indeed struggling and stuck, like our participants. One of our biggest points of pride is our pivot to a virtual Strive job readiness training course. Some of you know that we run a vigorous soft skills training that is called Strive, and that training went virtual in April, which has already been a great success. We're running contemporaneous trainings, actually, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, for a more extended period, because people just can't deal with being on Zoom for 6 hours at a time. So it's, the shorter class for a longer course period. And some of the graduates of that course have even gotten jobs in this time period. Many have, actually, including jobs in hospitality, the field that Antoinette's in. So that's all pretty impressive, but I want you to hear from Antoinette, who's a 2018 graduate of the Strive training and the Next Step program. She's a real Samaritan star, partly because she not only got work, but she climbed the ladder pretty quickly, or is climbing the ladder still, should I say, in her field of hospitality, and has sustained, pretty impressive employment during this time, even as her particular hotel has lost employees, either being let go or through illness. So she's quite a star, even as a single mom. So without further ado, let me pass the torch to Next Step Strive graduate Antoinette Green. Invite you to give her a little wave or a golf clap or something, and I'll be silent.
And good morning, everybody. Like David said, I'm Antoinette Green. I'm a graduate and still a participant in Strive. My story starts, of course, I'm a DC native. I'm born and raised in the Southeast DC area of Anacostia. I'm a single mom at the moment. My son's 4 years old. The way I got connected to Samaritan Ministries is through Strive. I had recently lost my job at the gift shop at the Air and Space Museum. So from that, I was kind of down. My son was 2.5 at the time. I was also living from house to house. So I was homeless, and I did feel stuck. I didn't have a way to provide for my son. I didn't have a place to give my son. I was kind of down. I so happened to be walking past the Skyland Workforce Center, which was about just a couple of minutes away from where I was staying. In the window was a sign that said about 314 people were employed from going through the center. So, I thought to myself, like, hey, what did I have to lose? So I ended up going inside, and I'm speaking with the receptionist at the desk. who asked me what was I interested in. And I told her that, I had work experience, that I just recently lost my job. So I just needed to up my resume and need some assistance with finding a job. She had recommended the Scribe program, but unfortunately the program had just filled up. So they was telling me to come back within the next 3 weeks. But after speaking with me, she was actually able to squeeze me in to one spot. So I ended up starting 2 days after going into the center. On my first day there, I met the instructor, Ms. Duffy. It was a class of about 20 of us. Ms. Duffy gave her introduction to the class and the course, and she informed us that the program was really going to be, how we make the program, that it was not going to be easy, nor was we guaranteed to secure employment. Within like that first week, we did lose majority of the class. It left 4 females and a male. So we went through the program and we worked on our resumes. We did mock interviews, and I actually picked up 3 job interviews during the course of the program. But unfortunately, I didn't get neither of those 3, which kind of made me feel a little disappointed and discouraged. On our last day, actually, there was a job fair for a hotel, but with me only having customer service experience and points of sale, I actually told Miss Duffy I wasn't going to go because it would have been pointless for me. But with her encouragement, actually, and she just told me go in, and let them know what I did know and what I was willing to do, that, I ended up going. And when I got there, I was still kind of discouraged. So I applied for the lowest position I thought I could get, which was like a part-time housekeeper. So I ended up starting the interview, and the gentleman asked me, why was I not interested in the front desk? And I explained to him that I didn't have front desk experience. But, I ended up telling him what I didn't have experience in and what I was willing to learn. And from there, he led me to one more interview, which unknowingly consisted of the GM, the AGM, and the front desk manager. I spoke with them and I just, let them know my skills that I did have, the skills I did have and what I was willing to learn. And from there, they gave me a chance to work at the front desk, just off of my attitude towards learning. And like the manager actually said, she just liked my smile and my personality. So when I started, I worked very hard to prove that, they made the right choice. So within the 6 months of me being employed there, I was actually promoted to supervisor at the front desk. From that 6 months from there, I was able to save up money, and I was in constant communication. Sorry, my cat won't get out the camera. I was in communication constantly with Scribe and Ms. Duffy. I was able to get some more resources and secure an apartment, which I was able to get for my first year of working at the hotel as well. I was able to put my son into school. And from there, I've just been working on, the next level after supervisor. And with this year, COVID kind of devastated a lot of people. Definitely the hospitality field. Majority of my coworkers at the front desk and throughout the entire property, unfortunately, have been furloughed. It's been devastating. A lot of people have been sick. A lot of people had to resign because their family members are sick or because they actually have lost somebody due to COVID. So me being a supervisor and building up, becoming a leader, I'm kind of taking, the skills I learned from Ms. Duffy and from Scribe and from everyone that I met in Samaritan Ministries, and just trying to give a hand, give a hand to everybody and be a support, because I know how I feel to be stuck and you lose you lost everything and you feel like it won't get better. So I've been trying to be that leader, even though they're not physically at the job, but I'm trying to be, you know, that support that things will get better. Thank you for letting me tell my story.
Hey, Antoinette, this is Alex, and I had a question for you. I've actually sat in on the beginning of Deirdre's Strive class.
Mm-hmm.
And the one takeaway I had from that was that I think she makes Marine sergeants look pretty tame. But yeah, I was really impressed with her, with her ability to work a class.
Mm-hmm.
And then I attended the end of that 2-week session and saw the people that were still there or not there. And I just point that out because, that is something that in my involvement with Samaritan has been one of the most impressive and interesting experiences of my time. And I think they make it available to anybody who is interested in doing that. And it's like I said, it was really really impressive to see, the first day class and the last day class. And having said that, why do you think that you made it through that class and so many others didn't?
Honestly, when I went to the class, I was at my lowest. I didn't have much to lose. A lot of people came to the class and they had a backup plan, or they, if they didn't finish it, hey, I still had, something else I can lean on. Me, if I didn't go to that class, I was homeless. I didn't have a job. All I had was my son. So that was my big motivation, that this was my last chance, or this was a big chance for me to improve my life. So I was willing to do whatever it takes, anything Ms. Duffy said, anything the program mandated for me, I was going to give it a shot.
I'm just curious. You're working a full-time job. How do you have childcare? How does that work?
So I do have. I'm lucky enough to have childcare now. He goes to a daycare that's luckily still open as well. Tomorrow's actually the first day of actual school. He would have been starting pre-K at DC Prep in the Anacostia area, but unfortunately he'd be doing social learning on his laptop, and it'd be done at the daycare. And on the weekends, if I'm at work, I'm lucky enough to have my mother who pitches in and help.
And so you're employed, but you're still doing the Next Step program?
Yes. People reach out to, I speak with someone monthly, and they just ask, just questions about my employment, but not just my employment. They check on our mental health, how we're feeling, financially, or do we have enough to eat? Do we need any resources for, if any bills are due, if we need assistance with finding food. So yes, I'm still connected with them.
So do you still have, goals that you have set out and that you're working toward?
Oh, of course. I'm actually working on going back to school. From joining the hospitality field, I kind of found my niche. I really love hospitality, so I want to go back to school for business and hospitality. I'm striving to become a GM within the next probably 6 years.
Yeah. So, Alex, I just want to say thanks for that great question, that last one especially, because it highlights. So this is, everybody, what I was meaning when I was talking about the aggressive outreach. We check in on folks, but given the remote aspect of things, we're especially responding, as Antoinette eloquently described, seeing what folks need, trying to prompt other things that they can do, just to sort of help us help them.
Antoinette, just another question in terms of your experience. Were you able to form friendships or connections with other participants in the program? And if so, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. I don't really speak much about the people I met in the program, but a really good friend I ended up meeting, his name is Antonio Walker. He was one of the only men left in the program by the time we finished. He had went in, he had 2 children, and he was actually a single father raising them. So he was, me and him kind of identified in the same story, that he was also didn't have a place to go. So until this day, we still reach out. Antonio's actually working in construction. He makes about decent money now. He got one of his licenses, so he makes about $28 an hour.
Wow, great.
I'm also interested in hearing more about the drill sergeant. So can you just describe what are some of the challenges that you faced as a participant? I know you were very eloquent in describing your need and the personal challenges you had to overcome, but I'm just curious, can maybe share a little bit more about what was the, what did they teach you? What were the skills? What did you find most challenging about the program?
So in the program, it's very much like a work simulation. Miss Duffy is she's not just a teacher. She'll let you know that she's your boss. We did the 3 times that you don't show up in class, you're essentially fired. So if you had something that you had to do, you couldn't make it, you actually had to call the program 2 hours. You had to call Miss Duffy 2 hours in advance to let her know that you won't be coming into work, or you'd be late. She took our our attire seriously. We had to come into the work and work casual clothes. So after like the first week, we had to have dress clothes. If you did not come and dress appropriately, you would be sent home. When you spoke, you had to stand up and address the class by saying your name and then restating the question and then answering it. The structure there, Ms. Duffy is really structure oriented, and like her main thing, this program is what you make of it. You can go through the whole program and not learn a thing, but it's not because of her, it's because of you. So you may feel like, oh, she's super mean. Like that's what a lot of people in the class thought when they left. But no, she's really making us take responsibility for our own actions and our own course, actually, from what we learned from the program and how we go on.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to ask Antoinette?
Yeah, questions or comments?
So how are you planning to start back to school? Have you actually started, or where are you looking, or is the Samaritan Ministry helping you with that?
Right now, so Scrav will help me go back to school. I just have to reach back out to them. I kind of already was in school before I even started Scrav. After I had my son in 2017, I had went to Strayer, but unfortunately I had dropped out. So I'm just gonna continue that to do online learning along with full-time work and motherhood. So I already have everything done out. Just unfortunately, because of COVID, I wasn't able to start because, like I said, a lot of my coworkers were furloughed. So it honestly would not be a good time to try to start my online learning with my son's online learning and working my full-time job right now.
Yeah.
Antoinette, what's your son's name?
My son's name's Andrew.
Andrew.
Yes.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Could I ask, this is actually for Alex and Bill Kennedy. I'm wondering in what capacity are you guys volunteering? What are you guys working on with the program?
Bill, why don't you go ahead? Is Bill there?
I believe you're on
he's-
mute, Bill.
I was originally brought into Samaritan Ministry to somehow try to replace St. John's own Carolyn Pierce, who was really unreplaceable, if you know Carolyn.
Yeah.
And I've done a variety of things. I've really worked at the Northwest office, which is near the Carter Barron, the tennis center. And up until COVID, I had the very nice title of front office coordinator, which really meant receptionist. But it's not just answering the telephone and opening the door. It's talking to a lot of people, sometimes helping program participants with various issues. Sometimes it's dressing somebody. I'll give you, there's a fellow that came in, he was a program participant, and we have more clothes than we know what to do with. Got him dressed in a business suit. Looked good. Went off. He too in the hospitality industry, and came back, and he got the job.
Mhm.
Got the job. I think
I
it was,
remember that.
I
Yeah.
think it was a Hyatt, and he was so happy. He was just ecstatically happy, and it's like suddenly life had been turned around for him. And if you want to make yourself feel good, go to Samaritan Ministry and find a Lonnie and put him in a suit and help him get a job, because it's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I've done administrative stuff that people ask me to do. I've done clerical stuff. I've emptied waste baskets, it's sort of whatever you need to do. Since COVID, things have dramatically changed. And now mostly what I do, along with a full-time staff member named Benja O'Reilly, a nice cross-cultural name, half Thai, half Irish, is we deal with participants. We give mail. Some people just don't have a fixed address. They use Samaritan Ministry as their mail, and we give them food. Sometimes, we work in other aspects of trying to help straighten things out. It might be just simply Xeroxing some things that they need to have Xeroxed, or making a telephone call. And it's like giving out a suit. You get somebody who's hungry, and you give them a bag or two of groceries. Or you give, I remember giving one guy his, $1,200 stimulus check. And it's not that people, they almost do, sometimes just fall on the ground and want to hug you. But it's like you've done something. You've really actively, on a one-to-one basis, improved somebody's life. You've made things just a little bit better. I can see Antoinette nodding. And, Deidre Duffy did what she needed to do, and Antoinette did it herself. And a lot of times people just need, just a helping hand, or just somebody to talk to. A couple of guys I've just talked to, and once they have a chance to talk about it, it just makes it so much easier that somebody cares. And and I'll say one thing that I think is very meaningful. A lot of staff members at Samaritan Ministry are African American. Obviously, I'm not. And occasionally, I'll get somebody to say, well, thank you so much. And I'm glad somebody from the white community cares too. And I think that's very important. Very important. When we get back to full staffing and full ordering, if you'd like something to do, call Samaritan Ministry. There's a wonderful woman named Cy Jones, who's our volunteer coordinator. And we have an office, I mentioned, in Northwest. There's an office in Silver Spring, that's fairly convenient. And if you've got some skills, or even if you don't have any skills, but you want to help people, Cy Jones will set you up. Anyways, I'm probably gone on a little bit longer than I should, but my brief story.
Yeah, I'll just, there's no end of interesting projects when you're doing stuff with Samaritan. And I remember perhaps one of the more, I don't know if it was interesting, but just different, was when I first showed up, they were relocating one of their offices and they had to empty out their old office. And there was you know, computer equipment, electronic equipment that had been stored there for 20 plus years, as well as you know, documents and records that filled approximately 30 very large trash bags that had to which had to be shredded. So I found myself the first day with my car full of electronic equipment, you know, literally out the windows, bringing that to the recycling center in Montgomery County, where I, you know, it took me about 15 minutes to unload all this stuff, and they were really very impressed with all the electronics I had, and then you know, taking all these things to be shredded was it was an enormous amount of material, and it took lots of trips. So anyway, that was my first my sort of my first week, and then I've done other things like I spent a good part of a year going down to the Southeast office in Anacostia, where you know, I would help out with the computers, help people update their resumes, and I also sort of created a very basic computer course that you know, for folks that are interested in getting some more computer skills, and so that's available to them too, and so I've been on call to help with folks that were interested in sort of getting a very basic overview of how to work with hardware and software, and then finally, you know, really my biggest involvement has been as a partner rep, where you basically try to engage your parish as best as you can into the everything that Samaritan does. Obviously, that's resources. So you know, there's 2 events a year pre-COVID. You know, there's the gala in the fall, and then there's the breakfast meeting in February, I believe it is. And so you try to twist as many arms of the parish to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to go down to the breakfast. And you know, the partner reps, again, pre-COVID, used to Reverend Wolf likes to get everybody all over the Washington region. So we used to meet, I think it was monthly or so, at one of the parishes, you know, in Virginia and DC and Maryland, and where all the partner reps, you know, get together, and you know, you focus on, you know, the next steps for the financial side of things.
Yeah.
And can I ask, so what's going to happen with COVID? Are you going to bring like the gala and the breakfast online? How are you fundraising during this time?
Good question. And then I want to circle back and acknowledge these 2 great witnesses and volunteers here. Yeah, the gala is going to be virtual on November 7th, and you're going to shortly get an invitation to that. So we're going to do, as many have, a virtual gala. We're really excited about trying that out, even as we reinvented the gala last year. For those of you that went to, the Duke Ellington School for the Arts, where we hosted it back in November of 2019, was impressive in itself. But with the pandemic, we're pivoting in this direction. So pretty excited about that. We're still hoping, the breakfast is actually in March every year. We've already booked the National Press Club for, I don't have that date in my head, but it's the Thursday that's around March 15th. So anyway, we'll be sharing more about those engagements. And just to build on what Alex just said about the partner rep role, the largest, the best understanding of the role is that you are trying to engage people in your parish. You're not trying to do everything yourself. You're like a community organizer in the community of your parish. So trying to engage people in, and you're not a fundraiser. I mean, we do that. We invite people to contribute that way, but also with their time and talent, as you've heard. So, but the most important thing is to engage people in the work. That's what's transformative. And we already know that Episcopalians are great philanthropists. We're good at that. But getting engaged in a hands-on way, or at least. I mean, it may not be with participants, but as Alex described, toting bales and things like that to the recycling center, all sorts of things need to be done. So, so that's my way of maybe putting a plug in for Alex is your only partner rep right now. So he would love a partner because it's a 2-person job. They were called 2 by 2. And so most of the partner parishes have at least one, but many have 2. So consider that, all of you on this call. And we'd love to have another person. The partner council does meet every other month. So it's not onerous. It's all to edify you in your work of engagement and organizing. And we are going to have a virtual partner council meeting for the first time in September. I believe the date is September 15th. But,
and those meetings have been very interesting just because you get to meet, folks from the Episcopalian community all over the area, and which you wouldn't obviously normally do that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, thanks for teasing that out. Great testimony from you around that. And Bill, wow, great witness. I'm glad we have this recorded because it really gives people a snapshot who aren't on this call. But that's one of the things that we promise. If you're a partner rep, you'll be mutually convenienced and inconvenienced in going, across the river to a meeting. But as Alex suggests, it is transformative. I mean, that river's wide, and just connecting with others at their parish when they're the hosts. And St. John's has been a host several times itself, so grateful for that.
Good food.
Yeah.
Well, Alex and David, just to put a finer point on what we can do if we want to help. I know, David, just so you know, I know you have flyers. I'm happy to project them on the screen.
Yep.
And Alex
was
yes.
going to suggest that. So, as Bill so eloquently highlighted, how to engage and help. There are many different opportunities. I don't think I meant to mention that we are calling forth digital literacy instructors, which means helping folks that are otherwise digitally illiterate, just kind of don't know how to turn the computer on. And we've got a number of folks who want to take Strive training, for example, but can't take it because they just can't function there yet. And it's a higher percentage than you would think. We've estimated as high as 75%. So we're collaborating with our partner Skyland Workforce Center to provide that either in initially small groups or one-on-one in this virtual environment, beginning next month, beginning September. So that's one of the things on the volunteer list. So can you project
I can.
that, Bill? Sorry.
Yes, sure.
So those are the volunteer opportunities. I think Alex or somebody is gonna it's gonna be in your Crossroads newsletter or some other medium following up from this as well, so others can see it and consider volunteering. And I hasten to add that obviously we've lost some volunteers given the health hazards, but we've gained some too. So especially if you're not in a category that puts you at risk, invites you to consider that. And as Bill mentioned, the person to contact, I think it's on the sheet, is Cy Jones. Yep, her email address and phone is at the bottom. You can also find that out from the website. But we're ramping up to reopen, and so we need more volunteers than we have right now. So consider that if you have even a little bit of time, because it's not an everyday job. Any questions on that part, the volunteer part? Or comments or what have you? All right. Well, you can also contribute and engage by offering in-kind items, and we have a list for that. Both if, for example, in the parish, you could still do this by your parking lot. Bill, I mean, Alex, I can't remember if you guys, are you guys having a drive now? An in-kind drive?
Yes, yes. We've as part of our announcement of this event, we've included the the link to Amazon,
Right.
where there's lots of things that are needed for participants. The toiletries,
Great.
sanitizers, all that.
Okay. So you can do it by Amazon as well. And, I know your parking lot, it's not huge. You share it with some others. So some churches are doing it, in person. Like I know St. Luke's had a couple collections. Transfiguration Silver Spring is doing an ongoing collection where they're bringing stuff down to the Northwest office. But Amazon works as well. Let me just stress, if you're doing, if you're making an in-kind order on Amazon, especially, make sure you indicate somewhere there that you're from St. John's, Norwood, Chevy Chase, so we can not just acknowledge you, but credit your parish. And I mean, your leadership, and Alex certainly wants to know, Alex and Bill, how did we do as a parish? Did we collect 100 items or 200 items or what have you? And that's really important to be able to share back with your folk as well for us to acknowledge. Any questions on that part? Anybody has? Great. And then finally, there's a giving link. You can give electronically, and Bill will post that link momentarily. There it is.
It's in the chat, yes, sir.
Yep, you can go through the website if you want to, or you can just do the traditional thing, write a check, put it in an envelope. 50 cents is cheaper than what the companies that facilitate electronic contributions charge, let me tell you. So you didn't know that there's a charge for every electronic contribution. It is easier, but it costs something. So consider that. If you're used to that, just write a check, drop it in the envelope to our 1516 Hamilton Street address, and that works as well. Any questions on those ways to engage or contribute that folks have? Or if you didn't get a chance to ask or share anything with Antoinette or me, invite that too.
Hi, Antoinette. My name is Ethan. I'm currently interning with St. John's, hopefully being ordained a deacon later this year for the Episcopal Church. I just wanted to say thank you so much for telling your story. You do something that most people don't have to do, which is bare your soul and be vulnerable, and I just want to commend you for that. You're not only blessing us by sharing your story, but you're blessing later participants because by sharing your story with us, you continue to encourage us and motivate us to stay connected. So please know that sharing your story today has beautiful ripples across this ministry. So thank you so much. I did have a quick question for you. Is there anything that you think Strive or Samaritan could do better, or that you think it should think about that perhaps it's not thinking about from your perspective?
First, thank you. I love telling my story because I do know there's some people who are afraid to share, what they're going through. And when they do hear someone going through something similar, it helps them open up or know that, they can get through it. In regards to what they could do better or what they can keep in mind going forward, I feel like they do a really great job, actually. They do a great job. This is one of the programs that I've actually looked at and read about, and their entire approach is perfect to me. They give their participants a chance to, be themselves. No one ever forced us to, do anything. The support is there when we want it, whenever. Like Ms. Duffy gives us her personal phone number to call, even after the program, even with David, if I need to just reach out. It doesn't even have to be related to anything. Just, they're always there for support if any way that they can do it. So I really don't have anything to say that they could do better.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And let me take this opportunity just to do what I do every time Antoinette speaks, because to your point, Ethan, it is really difficult to do this. It's difficult to do the work, and I'm really proud of Antoinette for what she's accomplished, but I'm really appreciative for her willingness and capacity to tell her story, not once, but over and over again. I don't think telling it over and over again necessarily makes it any easier, but it does it does make her uncomfortable, more familiar anyway. And so, invite you to just acknowledge her one more time for that work, because
Thank you.
It's harder than we may be able to appreciate. Other questions or comments folks want to offer before we close up?
So David, I'll just share that we are recording, so we will be posting this recording on YouTube. I don't know all of the precise details, but I can promise it will be available. Alex, I wonder if I can put you on the spot in terms of folks that do want to get involved. I know you have intentions to share this information. You want to elaborate on what you're thinking?
Well, so we're just going to continue to include announcements in Crossroads, including the link to this program, as well as some of the the information that David gave us, and then ask people to consider engaging in some of this work. And I think in conjunction with this video, and what I would love to get is I would love to get a video of the initial Strive class, for the first couple of hours that when the participants show up. I think that is just it is a really interesting experience. to give people the opportunity to look at that as part of the the overall appeal for engagement. I think it's very it's something which I think really gets your attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't have that, Alex, but I appreciate the suggestion, because it's probably a good idea just to record one of those sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a little different now. It's not obviously it's possible we could just do it, in other words, virtually, but.
Right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, basically
we'll do a live one. Yeah.
Basically, when I went to see it, it was like, stand and deliver. And, and it was, I mean, you could tell who was going to be there in 2 weeks and who wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something to witness for sure. Yeah.
And like I said, Deirdre is a force of nature. And she's yes, she's quite impressive.
Yeah. If anybody here, let me just say, is interested in considering, just exploring being a partner rep with Alex, either let him know or me know or both, just email us, and because it is a discernment, but hopefully we gave you a sense of what that, especially Alex, a sense of what's involved with that.
Alex, do you mind if I post your email address?
Of course not. No, it's been in all of the announcements as as the contact point.
Yeah, and feel free to add mine at Samaritan, dwolf@samaritanministry.org.
Will do.
Just in terms of questions and context, if it's something I need to farm out, like to Cy, our volunteer manager, I'm glad to do it. And you might mention that, if they want to talk about what it's like to volunteer, like in program, to contact Bill too, if Bill's open.
Right.
You open to that, Bill?
Happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk about anything.
Yep.
We could also set up a separate Zoom call once we get a few people together with Alex and Bill, internally at St. John's, and just chat about what more we could do, a coordinated effort.
Yeah. It's a great idea, Lisa. Any other final questions or comments that folks have?
No, I just wish Andrew a very good school year.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Antoinette, any parting shots you want to offer?
I just want to say thank you to everybody who listening and gave me kind words. Like I said, everything I set forward now is, of course, for Andrew's benefit and his future. So I'm gonna keep pushing forward, and hopefully the more I speak, the more accomplishments I can share with everybody.
Yeah. Amen.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, especially Alex and Bill and Bill for your sharing and organizing, and to your rector. And we look forward to engaging with you all further as we do this difficult but really good work.
Appreciate it,
Thank you,
David.
Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah.
Well done, Antoinette. Well done, David and
Thank
Alex.
you.